What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today Kiper just dropped his 2-round mock draft, so of course we are here to review it. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Below my face is my board. Below that are all the great ways to get involved in the community, as well as take advantage of our two sponsors, Olipop and UnderDog Fantasy. Use those codes, save yourself some money, get yourself some money because you get a $100 deposit match on your first deposit of $10 or more. Let's get right into this. So, starting out with the #1 overall pick, because I have work soon. I don't want to be wasting any of our time. We have the Chicago Bears going Caleb Williams. For the sake of argument, this is the #1 pick. You know, the Bear, I hate to be the guy who's super short, but, you know, the Bears are going to be taking him. There's no real reason to discuss it. But we will talk about the Commanders going Jayden Daniels at #2. You know, he's the higher floor quarterback out of pretty much everybody. You know, J.J. McCarthy technically could be considered that, but, you know, theoretically, the Commanders, if they do want to trade back, could technically try to sneak a quarterback out of this and get more draft capital. But that's just basically you're showing a lack of faith in the quarterback position. Jayden's the highest floor guy, great mobility. He does process over the field pretty poorly, over the middle of the field, excuse me. And he does have a big arm. He increased from his 50+% uncatchable throw rate there at ASU down to pretty much almost essentially nothing there at LSU, which is a huge, huge, huge boost. So proud of Jayden. He fits Cliff Kingsbury's system better than everybody else. And I technically have him as my QB too. I've just been more so closeted, even though, I mean, if you guys actually pay attention to the board on my face, you could have seen it the whole time. But Drake Maye is the #3 quarterback going to New England at #3. This is a spot where low expectations with Bailey Zappi there. You know, you just get to try to flush out the real talent there. So I'm excited to see what he can do there in New England. At pick 4, the Cardinals go Marvin Harrison Jr. You know, some people, I know my boy Maye is not a huge fan of the Cardinals going Marvin Harrison Jr., but when you do have Kyler Murray getting paid that much, there is going to be a little bit more influence on what the pick should be. Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, people got a little bit iffy about me using the term Hall of Famer. Hate to say it, but I do think there's actual Hall of Famers in this class, and that's okay. I mean, it is. It's perfectly fine. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. might be one of them. But he definitely is within that blue chip tier. Great player, and the Cardinals do need another weapon like Marvin Harrison Jr. Could trade back and trade up for a guy like Rome Odunze, absolutely. But, you know, I mean, I've done that myself. The Vikings then trade up with 11 and 23. Apparently, the Chargers also get a 2025 first. That's just so damn expensive. But the Vikings then go J.J. McCarthy at 5. I just don't think that it should cost that much. It just shouldn't. You shouldn't have to pay 3 first-round picks for J.J. McCarthy. If we're going to be honest, would I pay 2 first and 2 first and Bo Nix for J.J. McCarthy? No. So I wouldn't make this trade. I don't know if I'd trade 1 first in Bo Nix for J.J. McCarthy. So that kind of shows my thought process there, but it does feel like it is the thing they're going to be going after. At pick 6, the Giants go Malik Neighbors, wide receiver LSU. You're basically going best player available. I would say this is a great opportunity to trade back with a team that wants Malik Neighbors, i.e. the Chicago Bears. Maybe get an extra 3rd-round pick. And then you could also end up, well, I mean, I think you'll get like a next year mid-round pick as well. So it's a good way to get future capital and then get Brock Bowers, because apparently Darren Waller doesn't even want to potentially come back, or he's undecided. So I think that would be a really solid option right there. Titans go Joe Alt. It's the stick and pick, the best spot for him to go. We'll be talking about that in my top 20 tackles video coming out tomorrow, because I want to actually take time to dive deep into those players. Falcons go Dallas Turner. I don't know if Raheem Morris could let a talent like this slip past him. He needs a little bit more mentorship, but I trust Raheem Morris to be someone who can coach him up and be able to get the finer details out. And so he's my #4 player, because I do believe he could be almost as good as Will Anderson, who was my #1 player last year. You got the Bears then going Rome Slomo Dunze. I think Rome's a great player. He does complement the receiving core very, very well. Keenan will probably be a 1 year and out type of guy. So Rome Odunze is going to be a very valuable addition. I think Malik Neighbors might be even more fun, but Rome Odunze might be the more fiscally smart move. Then we got the Jets going Brock Bowers. You know, again, I don't think Brock Bowers is a bad pick. I just do believe that going offensive line is the best thing you can do because there's just too high of a correlation between, or there's too high of a consistency of injury with Tyron Smith to the point where it's almost a guarantee that he's going to miss games. And if you're looking for an immediate impact and you're also looking to give Aaron Rodgers a much easier time, having blindside pressure be eliminated or at least mitigated is probably your best bet. But Brock Bowers is a great weapon. He could be, one of the best tight ends of all time. I have that because he's my number 2 player on my board. Chargers then go J.C. Latham. Some people think he's a guard. I think that he very well actually might end up being a guard. I think that his processing is less than desirable, but the rest of the traits are phenomenal. So he actually will be graded as both a guard and a tackle. So he'll be making 2 features into my offensive line rankings. But then we got the Denver Broncos going Quinion Mitchell. Quinion Mitchell's a stud. If you're not going to go quarterback, that's a great position to be in to pair him up with Pat Surtain. Tully Fuaga to the Raiders. I mean, you're going after best player available. He's a phenomenal tackle/guard prospect. I think, again, it's one of those guys who I would throw the term Hall of Fame out there when it comes to him being a guard, because I think all of his issues are mitigated and all of his strengths are emphasized as a right guard. But right tackle is still very, very, very possible. Pick number 14, the Saints go Olu Fashanu. That's the best pick you can ask for. Trevor Penning, I don't really care about where he is. Like, I'll kick him to right tackle if I need to. Like, I love the fact that you just go after the best tackle on the board. If you end up having to choose between Fautanu and then, maybe if JC Latham's there, that's where you can start asking yourself, which one do you value more? Pick number 15, the Cardinals. The Colts go Terrion Arnold. It's the best pick you could probably ask for. He's a phenomenal player. Like, I love him to death. So, very happy to see that for Indy. 16, the Seahawks go Troy Fautanu. It's another one of those spots where if you can't trade back, this is probably as good as you're going to get. He has that tackle versatility, which I do love because, in case injuries continue to plague Abraham Lucas, you have a replacement there. But in case of an injury, even to Charles Cross, you also have someone who could actually play tackle, who should be able to play tackle. Troy Fautanu is really damn solid. And then I love Anthony Bradford and Olu Oluwatimi. So you actually might have a really good interior offensive line. Pick 17. You got the Jaguars going Cooper DeJean. He tested out well. We all knew he was going to test out well. I mean, it is what it is. But I think the Jaguars need to emphasize ongoing wide receiver here. But of course, we'll see what they do in round number 2 because my wide receivers that slipped around 2 are probably going to be different than what Mel's are. Number 18, the Bengals go Byron Murphy. So we'll see what they do at tackle in round 2. If they end up getting Roger Rosengarten, I will be perfectly fine with this. I love Roger Rosengarten. He is going to be a top 64 player on my board. So, if you end up getting a top 10 player and a top 64 player in the first 2 rounds, I call that a win. Rams end up going Latu at 19. I think that's perfectly fine. Great player. He's ascended up my board to 15. So for the people who are losing their shit, you did deservedly so. Steelers end up going Graham Barton at 20. So I will take a little bit of time to discuss why I don't think the Steelers will go center or guard until even potentially day 3, but definitely round 3. So the value of center, we've seen it drop in the NFL. And a lot of people ask why. You're seeing guys like Tyler Linderbaum slip, and I think Tyler Linderbaum should not have, but, John Michael Schmidt slipped. Like, why are these guys slipping? It's because when you look at the value of center adds, they add some blocking value, absolutely. I mean, they're an offensive lineman after all. But the real special value of a center is calling out protection packages, calling out blitzes. And if you have a veteran quarterback, they're going to be doing that for you. So you take a lot of the value away from the position. That's why I don't think the Steelers met up with JPJ. That's why people think JPJ will slip, and I do too. I think Graham Barton will probably slip as well if people think that he's actually just a center. I don't think the Steelers need a guard. Therefore, I don't think they'll value this. But Graham Barton's a good player, super versatile. I would not be mad if the Steelers ended up picking him up. I just would feel a little bit empty of the fact that there's some really damn good players still left on the board. Pick 21, we got the Dolphins going Jared Verse. This is honestly, it's a solid move. You had 2 guys coming off season-ending injuries, and Jared Verse is best player available. Like, it's one of those picks where you don't think about it as like a top-end pick. And yeah, there's some better ones, but this is a realistic one. You have 2 edge rushers coming off season-ending injuries. rotation is key in the NFL for keeping guys healthy, and Jared Verse is the best player available. Don't overthink it. Then we got the Eagles going Nate Wiggins. Just too many corners on this roster. I mean, I swear to God, if I were sitting in the GM spot, if I were Howie, I'd be getting rid of James Bradberry. I wouldn't be signing Avonte Maddox to a 1-year deal. Like, there's just too much going on for me to feel comfortable going after a top end corner here, because what if they don't actually end up beating out these top guys? Which, I mean, to be fair, their pass coverage was ass, but I'm all for it if they end up doing it, but it's just, when you look at the build of the roster, it's just a little worrisome. Chargers then end up going Xavier Worthy. I'm not really a huge fan of this one, but he does complement the receiving core. I'm just not a big Xavier Worthy guy personally, so that's why I was also saying for the Jaguars, let's see who slips to round 2. Cowboys go Tyler Guyton. So we'll see if Tyler Smith can kick the tackle, but if Tyler Guyton's here and they believe in him to be the starter at tackle, then you know what? I'm going to trust the eyes of the Cowboy scouts. I don't know if I can trust him switching to left tackle, though. Packers then go Amarius Mims. He is probably the most talented player left on the board, so I am excited to see that Cooper DeJean is not this pick, because, we like to just stick and pick every single time. Rasheed Walker's going to be coming up on a contract extension, and Amarius Mims does probably need a little bit of time to develop. Then we got the Buccaneers going Chop. I think they're going to go for best impact day 1. This is going to be a DPR. I don't really think it's going to be very eerily reminiscent of Joey Tryon Shoyinka, but I actually like Joe a little bit more than Chop Robinson. So I think he was more pro ready than Chop Robinson is as a DPR. But to speed this up, the Cardinals then end up going Darius Robinson. I think you go after Jerzon Newton 10 out of 10 times here, but Darius Robinson's a really good player, and this team could use edge help. Let's see what they do in round 2. Bills getting Brian Thomas Jr. is an absolute wet dream for y'all. Ugh. That came out way worse. Pause. That was way worse than I expected. But, this is as good as you could probably ever ask for the Bills. Then we got the Lions going A.D. Mitchell. I mean, the Lions do need to get an X-build receiver. I think A.D. Mitchell could totally be that. I love the fact that there's a nice little twist in this mock draft. Ravens then go Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think that's a perfectly fine selection. You do need some extra help there in that secondary. Marlon Humphrey hasn't really fully been to himself, and he also hasn't been very healthy. Niners go Roger Rosengart. I was hyping him up early. I didn't think he was going to go in the first. That hurts me, because my dream fit for him is the Niners. I think I'd be actually fine with this if it ends up coming to it. He's a great athlete with unbelievable potential and super high-end reps. I wouldn't be against that. Chiefs going Xavier Leggett. That's a great pick for the Chiefs. Great deep speed, great build that they don't have already on their roster, and it doesn't matter what happens to Raw technically, because then Xavier can, with his after the catch ability, take over there too. But the Giants end up trading up 14 spots to end up selecting Bo Nix. So, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that the Niners wouldn't have traded back in that situation, so you get that 5th-year contract. I do think that the Giants should be looking at a quarterback, but, again, I wouldn't be trading up to get Bo Nix if you're the Giants, because, I mean, to be fair, it's not going to stop me, because y'all know I literally took a quarterback yesterday, but I'm not going to trade up unless I get that 5th-year contract. That's what I'd be talking about. But, you do need a quarterback upgrade, and I do think he is one. New England Patriots then go Keon Coleman. Great pick. I'm excited to see what the Panthers did, because that's my dream pick for the Panthers. Cardinals then end up going TJ Tampa. I'm not a huge guy on TJ Tampa. Could be wrong about that, but I just didn't really love him, and he's not super duper athletic. But the Cardinals do need corner. Then we got the Commanders going Jordan Morgan. I have him listed as an interior offensive lineman, not because I don't think he can play tackle, but because I think he's a significantly better guard. I think the Commanders could use either. So this is actually just going BPA. Then we have the Rams moving up so we got LA to LA right here. Rams go Michael Penix Jr. So honestly, I don't mind this at all. It's not that big of a trade. And Michael Penix Jr. is a really solid quarterback that could fit into a Matthew Stafford system. This is not a bad pick at all. Then we have the Titans going Ricky Pearsall. I personally do believe that they should go linebacker here, but Ricky Pearsall, Traylon Burks, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, you can't complain about having good weapons and good protection. Then we got the Panthers trading back and drafting Ladd McConkey. He's an awesome player. I'm not going to shame this. You're essentially getting Adam Thielen replacement for the long run. Then we got the Commanders going Max Melton. Max Melton's an awesome corner. I actually went defensive back as well in my mock draft. Then we got the Packers going Edgerrin Cooper. I personally do believe that they need to go linebacker if one's available, and luckily, there is. So Edgerrin Cooper comes off the board to Green Bay. Texans go Jerzon Newton. That's as good as you could ever ask for. Only reason he'd fall is because there's a rumor that he is difficult to coach. Then we get the Falcons going Kamari Lassiter, keeping him in Georgia. I mean, with that 4.65 speed, I mean, y'all know I do love Kamari Lassiter, not to the level of other people, but, I do think of him as a top 64 player. He's a good guy. I don't think the Falcons could do wrong by going after cornerback at that spot. Vegas Raiders go Ennis Rakestraw Jr. I love it. You're getting a versatile defensive back for Antonio Pierce to be able to mold into a guy that he loves. Saints go Malachi Corley at 45. I would be looking more for a bigger X receiver personally, but to be fair, there's not really many of those left on the board. Malachi Corley is a good guy after the catch. I just prefer to, maybe strengthen some other strengths rather than, try to target and reach after someone who I don't fully believe in. Colts end up going Troy Franklin. It's like essentially getting your on sale version of Ricky Pearsall. I'm not going to be against it. So you're going to see what happens. I just don't like what happened at the combine. Slow 10-second split, and then also not like an atrocious gauntlet drill. Panthers move back and get JPJ. I already talked about this. The value of center essentially depends on whether you believe in your quarterback to call packages. This is not out of the realm of possibility, but it's a great pick because I did it myself too. That's not the reason it's a good pick, but it's why I think it's a good pick. There's also, you get that added value because I don't trust Bryce fully yet to understand everything. At the same time, I also don't fully trust JPJ. It's a weird conversation. Jaguars then draft Christian Jenkins. Defensive interior 2 is something you should look at. Wide receiver is pretty depleted, so I would still say that you should have went wide receiver round 1 and corner here. Then we got the Bengals going Roman Wilson. They do need a wide receiver, they do. So Roman Wilson's a good pick, and he's used to that type of climate as well. I just would hope that they'd end up getting a tackle sooner than later. Eagles going Patrick Paul. I'm not a Patrick Paul type of guy. I actually, spoiler alert, don't have my top 20 tackles, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm very confident in my offensive tackle analysis. There's a lot of good tackles in this class. My dream for the Eagles is Roger Rosengarten, and then I think it would actually end up being Caden Wallace out of Penn State as a round 4 pick because I think he played guard in the short run and then also get trained to learn how to play right tackle in the long. Steelers go Jalen McMillan. I think wide receiver is a great move for the Steelers. I'm just not a big Jalen McMillan guy. Then we got the Chargers going Ruka Roro. He's a good versatile defensive line piece. I'm not going to get too angry with this one at all. Latham, Worthy, Roro. I would still say go after Junior Colson, but, Ruka Roro is a great player. Eagles then go Jalen Polk. I'm not a big guy on the Huskies wide receivers except for Rome Odunze, who I think is pretty damn solid, but Jalen Polk wouldn't be a bad addition for the Eagles at all. This was one of my dream fits for him. Browns go Braden Fisk. That's a super high upside player with injury concern. This is, according to one Tony Pauline report, but the Browns could definitely use a super, essentially you're going to be getting a what if ended up hitting on Perry and Winfrey with Braden Fisk. Then we got the Dolphins going Christian Haynes. He's a good interior offensive line piece. That's a good pick at 55. Jonathan Brooks goes to the Cowboys at 56. Eventually, a running back has to come off the board. Dallas Cowboys seem to be that team to get that. Then we got the Buccaneers going Zach Frazier. That's a good interior offensive line piece as well. Again, talked about the center value continuing to slip. Then we got the Packers going Javon Bullard. I'm not a big Javon Bullard guy, but I do love the idea of safety. I'd go Cole Bishop here. Then we got the Texans going Mikey Sainer still. He's a good energy. That's what I love about him, and he's still developing at the position. I don't think that the Texans would hate being able to have a great blitz piece who also can have man-to-man coverage skills like Mikey. Then we got the Bills going Cole Bishop. That's a great pick. I think Cole Bishop should be sneaking into my top 64 sooner than later. Then we got the Lions going Adiza Isaac. Adiz nuts, but I think that I'm sorry about that. He's a really solid player, high IQ. Just don't really think the Lions need to reach on a player who's not a supreme athlete or a great build at that point. That's where you test out the waters on more of a DPR or somebody who can be a little bit more of a less of a day one impact. Then we got the Ravens going Cooper Beebe. You might as well go BPA. I obviously think Blake Fisher would be BPA here, but Cooper Beebe's a great, great player. Then we got the Niners going Drew Phillips. I didn't know his name was Drew. I have his Andrew, but he's my number 9 player in the class. If I switch his name to Drew Phillips, I don't know if I actually like that more, but it's sick. Obviously, y'all know what I think about that. He's a top 10 player on my board, and the Niners need a corner. Then we got the Chiefs going Kingsley to play left or right tackle. I don't mind that because at 64, you're getting someone who is super versatile. But that is going to be the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, showing the love that you always do. I love y'all. See you on the far side.